Welcome and good evening. Thank you for braving the snow coming out this evening. On behalf of the City of Columbus, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to this evening's event. And I'd like to extend special thanks and welcome to the many public servants in attendance. We have with us tonight our City Council, many members of the city's boards and commissions, and much of the city's departmental leadership. I'd like for them all to stand right now, if you could, please. And I'd like for you to give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Every day they come to work to make us safer and smarter. Many will remain when we're done to answer questions. So if you have something that's on your mind, you're welcome to bring it forward and we'll try to get to it tonight. As with prior State of the City addresses, we've brought an update on our city's affairs. We'll have a presentation by one of our city's department leaders. This year it's our police chief, and we are visiting a place you may not have visited for a while. In our first year in office, we held the State of the City address at the Learning Center, and we were able to showcase one of our higher education assets along with our exceptional airport. The following year, we visited Donner Center for breakfast. That event allowed many to meet the leadership of our fire department and see firsthand the state of Donner Center, our oldest asset. Last year, we were at the Commons, one of our newer assets, and we received an update on ASAP, our response to the heroin addiction that affects our community. So it only made sense that this year we visit Fair Oaks Mall. It's a big part of our future. We'll discuss our plans for the mall later in the evening, but hosting this event here tonight fits with our strategy of visiting all parts of our city and introducing you to the city's leadership, those who actually manage how we deliver city services on a daily basis. As I think about 2018 and plan for 2019, I'm drawn back to the 4 primary goals shown on the mayor's page at the city's website. There we talk about public safety, first and foremost, along with economic opportunity, educational opportunity, and partnerships. There are other themes too. One is that we are willing to confront our largest challenges. We'll discuss these in turn, but a brief list includes challenges presented by increased railroad traffic, heroin addiction, a deteriorating riverfront, and changing attitudes, what you might call a paradigm shift in how the next generation defines a desirable community. Another theme is our willingness to embrace opportunities. Government is never nimble, but in 2018, we've been presented with several opportunities, and in fact, you're sitting in one. And we've been willing to act in response to those opportunities as they were presented to us. But now back to job 1, public safety. We will hear from the police chief in a few minutes, but please keep in mind that public safety includes more than law enforcement. It includes firefighters, emergency responders, and the training and equipment to make them ready when needed. We took several steps forward in public safety in 2018, and Chief Rohde will discuss those involving law enforcement. One issue we focused on early was the need to recruit and retain officers. During our low point in 2017, we advertised for candidates to fill positions and had 71 apply. Now, 71 may seem like a big number, but we winnowed down pretty easily, and out of 71, we'll be lucky to hire 2, maybe 3. This past Saturday, we sought applications again, and we had 355 people step forward. From 71 to 355, an increase of 400%. The increase is heartening, and it's one of the reasons we invited our police chief to talk to us tonight. Please welcome Columbus Police Chief John Rohde. You can just hop right up here.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. Very grateful to be here to speak with you this evening, and I have to make a disclosure at first, though, that if you're worried about time, is my dad's a pastor. But the good news is that there's an IU game tonight, so hopefully I don't go on too long. There's a lot of exciting things going on in public safety and with our department. I've tried to narrow that down to 2 main topics for tonight. First being professionalism in law enforcement, and the second being crime reduction efforts. Demonstrating professionalism in law enforcement is critical in this day and age and is necessary to build positive relationships between police and the citizens being served. The Columbus Police Department has demonstrated our professionalism in a number of ways. First, by achieving and maintaining our international and state accreditation. These accrediting agencies provide third-party oversight over all of our policies and practices, and in 2018, during our annual review, we were found to be 100% in compliance. Another way we demonstrate our professionalism is by working closely with the Police Review Committee. This committee provides third-party oversight over all formal complaints, of which 0 were received last year. Another way we demonstrate our professionalism is by implementing and maintaining a body-worn camera policy and program that provides transparency in police and citizen encounters. But tonight I want to spend a little bit more time discussing professionalism as it relates to the topic of officer recruitment and retention. You see, the quality of law enforcement personnel is crucial to the public safety services being provided. Law enforcement executives nationally list the most challenging issue facing their respective departments as recruiting and retaining sworn personnel, and our agency is no exception. Last year, I reported some troubling trends where we averaged losing 6 officers a year. Applications we received had decreased by over 75%, and successful police hires had decreased by 88%. This problem required action, and in 2018, the mayor, city council, and Board of Public Works and Safety made it a priority to reverse these trends. First, a salary compensation study was conducted and a 2-year implementation plan initiated to offer more competitive salaries. Next, our take-home car program was expanded to match the state's residency requirement and what other departments were doing to recruit and retain police officers. Lastly, our grooming policy was modified to be more progressive with the current times. As the mayor said, this past Saturday we held a hiring process, and these actions resulted in a 187% increase in applicants who showed up for the initial testing, as well as a 400% increase in the applications received. The actions taken last year produced the desired results. I could go on and provide additional data in this area, and I will give you more data tonight, trust me. But I thought it was appropriate to share with you some stories of things that happened last year that demonstrated our officers' character as well as the values that we were looking for when we recruit. Last year, Officer Matt Pendergrast came in contact with an elderly widow, and he drove her home, walked her up to her residence, and as he was leaving, he realized that she was going to be confined to her home because of the snow and ice buildup on her sidewalk and driveways. After he completed his 3rd shift at 7 o'clock in the morning, he, along with Officer Danielle Steigers and John Lanning with the Sheriff's Department, returned to her home with shovels in hand and cleared her driveway and sidewalk so that she could come and go from her residence. Last year, Officer Frank Dickman came in contact with a mother who discovered that her children figured out how to unlock the doors to their apartment. She informed Officer Dickman that she intended to buy door alarms for her doors, but was unable to purchase them until she received her next paycheck. Officer Dickman went to the store, used his own money, purchased door alarms, and delivered them to the woman so that she could keep her children in her home. Officer Greg Ross responded to a vehicle accident in one of our local rivers. When he arrived, the vehicle was upside down. He slid down a steep embankment, found the male suffering from hypothermia and 12-degree weather. The car was filling up with water, and he forced the car doors open. Other police officers, as well as other public safety personnel, arrived and used rescue ropes and a rescue basket to take the man out of the river and into an ambulance, who later survived his encounter. Officers Matthew Martindale and Logan Adams forced open the door to a garage and located a female trying to do self-harm. They found her unconscious in the garage filled with carbon monoxide, pulled her from the garage and provided life-saving measures, and she survived. Sergeant Allison she got married, so Allison Eichel and Officer Wesley Dodge located a male in his front yard who was unconscious and had no pulse. They provided life-saving measures to him. The fire department, firefighters, as well as CRH EMS arrived, and they collectively continued providing life-saving measures until they got him to the hospital. That male later survived and reached out to the public safety departments wanting to share his appreciation and be reunited with them so that he could share his appreciation that he's still here. Mr. McCauley, I think that you were planning on coming today. Are you here today? Why don't you stand up, and any of the officers that I mentioned in these stories, as well as any other public safety personnel that was involved in any of those incidents, please stand so we can give you a round of applause. Mr. McCauley, we're glad you're here with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed those stories, and they're quite heartening. Next, I'm going to move on to crime reduction efforts and provide more data as I promised. Before we dive into this, there's a basic education that I'm going to provide you, is that crime is measured universally throughout the nation in two ways. First, violent crime, which measures crime where one person harms another. And the second is property crime, which measures when property is stolen. I'm pleased to announce that our violent crime rate is 79% below the national average. We are an extremely safe city where people can feel free to walk in our downtown and in our neighborhoods without fear of a random act of violence occurring against them. SafeWise ranked Columbus as the 8th safest city in Indiana, and Security Choice highlighted cities across the United States that became safer cities for their citizens, and ranked Columbus, Indiana as 5th in the nation. As we talk about violent crime, I think it's appropriate to talk about school safety. We had 2 school shootings right here in Indiana last year. So we've had a partnership with the Bartholomew County School Corporation to provide 2 school resource officers full-time in the schools over the last couple years. We expanded that partnership starting last year and going into this year to add the Bartholomew County Sheriff's Office. This year we will now have 5 officers dedicated full-time to the schools between the Columbus Police Department and the Bartholomew County Sheriff's Department. It's been a fantastic partnership that not only provides safety and security for our children, teachers, and visitors of those facilities, but also provides an excellent opportunity to build relationships between police and the youth in our community. So we talk about property crime. Property crime has historically been almost double the national average. And speaking to the mayor, you don't have to necessarily worry about a random person coming up and harming you, but you don't want to leave your leaf blower sitting on your front porch. However, this problem required action. So we implemented the most cutting-edge method of policing, known as intelligence-led policing. The mayor and city council provided additional resources to our department in order to introduce this method of policing. This has resulted in property crime being reduced every single year for the last 3 years, with an overall 19% decrease. Vehicle theft is down over 12%, burglaries are down 27%, and larceny is down over 18%. I get really excited about this because you see your vision coming to fruition, and I'm really excited to announce that the actions that we are on pace this year for an additional 20% decrease in property crime. Again, the actions taken are producing the desired results. While we've made significant progress in this regard, our higher than average property crime undoubtedly has a direct correlation to the drug addiction in our community. So we talk about drug addiction, we try to put it in the basic concept of supply and demand. While law enforcement constantly works to arrest the drug dealers and thwart the supply of drugs, the community as a whole needs to address the demand. The theory is that if we can reduce or eliminate the demand, we will collaterally reduce the drug supply. This problem required action in two forms, one for supply and the other for demand. First, with supply. As we know, crime, specifically drug crimes, do not end at the city limits or county lines. The partnership was formed between the Bartholomew County Sheriff's Office, the Columbus Police Department, and the Bartholomew County Prosecutor's Office to form the Joint Narcotics Enforcement Team, also known as JNET. This partnership was later expanded to add a deputy being assigned to the Federal Drug Enforcement Agency. This not only gave us access to federal intelligence, but also federal resources. It allowed us to expand our relationships with the FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals, Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Postal Service inspectors, and many others. The results of this action are that we've seen a 21% reduction in arrests that involve a drug offense. The actions, once again, produce the desired results. As we talk about demand 4 or 5 years ago, as I participated in meetings throughout the community, we inevitably discussed the complex problems that had unattainable solutions that no single person or entity had the time or resources to do anything about. The action taken was the Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention, also known as ASAP. Where once pie-in-the-sky ideas existed, those solutions have now become a reality. This community-wide partnership will result in crime reduction as well as many other community benefits. I am convinced that ASAP will be a model for other cities throughout the nation on how to address this drug epidemic. The partnerships don't stop there. The Columbus Police Department is a partner with the Evidence-Based Decision-Making Group, which works on revamping the criminal justice system to reduce the likelihood that a person who has committed a crime will reoffend. We partnered with a Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative, which works on changing delinquent youth behavior so that children have a greater likelihood to become productive citizens when they become adults. We've provided liaison officer to Judge Wharton's Veterans Court and Judge Benjamin's up-and-coming drug court, which focus on rehabilitating people who've committed a crime. The results of these actions are that last year our county's opioid overdose-related deaths were down over 58%. Again, these actions taken are producing the desired results. While this progress is promising, we still have a long way to go, which is why your continued support of these efforts is needed. I think I'm running out of time, so in closing, I want to thank Mayor Lineup for your support of the Columbus Police Department, of public safety services in general throughout the city and the county. I want to thank the City Council and Board of Works for providing our agency the resources necessary to do our jobs. I want to thank the public safety servants who risk their lives for the lives of others. Last but not least, I want to thank our community partners. I wasn't able to name all of you tonight, but we appreciate your partnerships. We look forward to continuing to work with you to maintain our exceptionally low violent crime rate, to continue our progress on reducing property crime and drug addiction, and ultimately provide our citizenry a safe place to work, play, and live. Thank you very much.
We really have made some significant strides in law enforcement in the last year, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't appreciate also our sheriff, Matt Myers. He's been an integral part of everything we've done. So thank you, gentlemen. The improvements you've highlighted, Chief Rohde, they are indeed welcome. I mentioned earlier that law enforcement is but one part of our public safety emphasis. We've also continued our work on fire stations. Many of you know that our firefighters and ambulance crews live in our fire stations while on duty. Unfortunately, Several of our fire stations had become difficult places to live. Inadequate HVAC systems and leaking roofs meant that we had men and women living in places that were too hot, too cold, wet, or moldy. We started in 2016 with a plan to refurbish all of our stations and fix what ailed them. The majority of the work was required on stations 1, 2, and 5. I'm pleased to say that by the end of this year, we should be complete with the remaining stations. We purchased 2 drones in 2018, and following the requisite training, they are now ready for use. One has a thermal camera designed to detect hotspots or people within a building. But we've also learned it can detect individuals in a cornfield, whether they be bad guys or scared child. Later this year, we will open a public safety training facility. We've named it Evolution. This building on Verhulst Drive within the airport campus will allow us to provide better training to our personnel closer to home. This training will enhance our safety and the safety of our first responders. And we plan to make this available to neighboring communities, neighboring departments, be they volunteer township departments or those from nearby cities. They too can benefit from better training closer to home, and in the process will help us offset the cost. You know, we've talked about partnerships before, and we will again, but this is another example of our collaborative mindset. When the fire chief came to us with this idea, we realized its potential, but wanted to ensure that there was a sound business plan behind this investment. We sought out SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, and together with our fire department leadership, they created a business plan for this facility. We wanted one large enough, but not too large, one adequately equipped, but not overly so, in order that surrounding departments would find our pricing to them attractive. Working with local retirees and with neighboring departments will bring us a win for ourselves and help our neighbors at the same time. Earlier, I mentioned one of our themes was to address the large challenges of our day. As many of you know, in 2011, CSX and L&I Railroads announced a $100 million rebuild of the line that running from Louisville to Indianapolis. That rebuild is, that rebuild is complete, and we've begun to see more frequent trains running through our city. Sometimes, however, they don't run through the city. They stop and they stay for a while. If I remember correctly, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, a nearly 2-mile-long train developed mechanical difficulties and blocked State Road 46, 5th, 8th, and 11th Streets for more than an hour just before noon. Everyone here understands the concerns and headaches that resulted. This was one large challenge which we began to address in 2016, and our response is moving along nicely. We like to say it is on track. I love that phrase. Right now, the Indiana Department of Transportation, who has ownership and management of the project, is in the land acquisition phase. They have 5 parcels of land to purchase. Of these, 4 are complete or nearly so, and 1 is in the final stages of negotiations. As happy as we are about the progress we're making, we all need to remember that NDOT does not expect to start construction until the third quarter of 2019, third quarter this year, and does not expect to be finished until, at the earliest, the fourth quarter of 2020. This means that we will have for a while longer, that while we have a response in the making, we will have to live with train disruptions for a while longer. But please, keep in mind these themes I've mentioned about tackling our large challenges, being opportunistic, and working in partnership with others. Our partners on the railroad project are known to all: Bartholomew County, Cummins, State of Indiana, and the railroads themselves. They all deserve a round of applause. Do we have people here who have worked on this project? And I would think so. Maybe not. Nonetheless, give them a round of applause because they do deserve it. Another large challenge we've tackled is substance abuse, as the chief alluded to. Sometimes we refer to heroin, sometimes opioids, sometimes meth, but is all covered under the general topic of substance abuse. Our progress the last 2 years is breathtaking. What began with a general commitment from the city, Bartholomew County, and Columbus Regional Health to address this issue has spawned into ASAP, the Alliance for Substance Abuse Progress, which is now a separate, standalone entity. ASAP, in turn, has fostered a community response to addiction. We've had for some time treatment centers and treatment programs, but these efforts were never organized, they were never coordinated. Now we have the hub, a central place where addicts, their families, and friends can turn for guidance. We have WRAP and REALM, acronyms that stand for Women Recovering with a Purpose and Recovery Enables a Life for Men. These programs will make a difference. We will soon have the Fresh Start Recovery Program, an inpatient treatment program for young women who are pregnant or who have young children. We will soon have an adult drug recovery court. Although not new to Indiana, this will be new to Bartholomew County. It starts with the premise that if you send a nonviolent offender to jail, it probably doesn't get better for him or her or for us. Nonviolent offenders who struggle with addiction will likely be better off, and our community will be better off if they are offered supervised pathways for recovery. Jail is the last thing they need, but the only option available today. Adult Drug Recovery Court in Bartholomew County was a vague concept 2 years ago. Today, because of ASAP, it will soon be a reality. And we have the Mark and Wendy Elwood Fund, $1 million dedicated to education and prevention. That fund has spawned over 40 separate programs or projects in our schools, churches, and youth groups, all designed to prevent this scourge from taking root. This fund came about due to the generosity of Mark and Wendy Elwood and other local private donors, all of whom, because of ASAP, understood the challenge. Our theme of tackling large challenges comes forward in another area, our riverfront. Folks, please do me a favor. Drive the 3rd Street Bridge, get in the left-hand lane, look to your left. Don't hit the car in front. Drive the Stewart Bridge, get in the left-hand lane, look to your left. Look for the dam and the erosion that is occurring on the south or west bank. What you'll see is this. For reasons no one alive today can explain, the dam is not square to the river. It's cockeyed. Because it is broken, the dam is not level. For these 2 reasons, you will see erosion on the south or west side of the river. Keep in mind that there is a former city landfill that starts about halfway between the bridges and continues downstream under the Stewart Bridge. This landfill is the main reason the Stewart Bridge was built with its supports in the river. The erosion I'm talking about threatens to uncover that landfill. Also, please keep in mind that the dam is dangerous. Those who go over the dam run the risk the waterfall will trap and hold them, keeping them underwater. Our project is designed to remove the dam and strengthen the banks. This will address the primary risks presented in the area. In addition, we would like to extend people trails through the area, and if allowed by other governmental agencies, build some recreational improvements. These would be incremental spends designed to turn a lemon into lemonade. Today we have people trails north of 3rd Street, and we have people trails south of 2nd, but they don't connect. We'd like to connect the two. And if possible, we'd like to add some recreational features. Other communities have reported success with kayaks and canoes. Why not us? But please keep in mind, the primary need for the project is the dangerous broken dam and the erosion. Throughout my time as mayor, I've often asked myself a simple question. 20 years from now, what will we wish we had done? Will we wish we had responded to the railroad challenge? Will we wish we had tackled substance abuse? Will we wish we had addressed the river's problems? I don't want to leave it for others. I want our legacy, yours and mine, to be that we met the big challenges of our day and we solved them. And that brings us to our latest challenge, Fair Oaks Ball. As many of you know, this building was built in the 1980s. At that time, enclosed regional shopping malls and brick-and-mortar retail establishments were growing. It was a point of pride for many communities to attract a facility such as this and the brand names that followed. My, how times have changed. And that is part of the reason we've invited you here this evening. After we announced the purchase of the mall, we were surprised to learn from a number of individuals that they'd either never been here or they hadn't been here for years. So this evening now becomes your chance to see a paradigm shift in real time. When we're done here, take a walk around. The app on my phone says it's a half mile if you take all the nooks and crannies so you can get your steps in for the day and feel good about it. You'll be struck by one thought, that the use for which this facility was designed has gone away. And new uses, not just for the building, but for the underlying real estate, need to come forward. We call this adaptive reuse. And we got a great example on 2nd Street. The former Republic Building is now the Indiana University Masters in Architecture program. Irwin Union Bank is now a conference center. So this is the part of life that these things come, they have their time, and then they go. And so now we're at the point where we need to find a new purpose for this facility. In late 2017, our Parks Department completed a 5-year master plan. The number one need we identified was for an indoor recreational facility. Think 40 or 50,000 square feet, which I think is about 2/3 of the facility that we have here. The second need was for indoor recreational programming. So think fitness and yoga and activities like that. Just a few notches below, down the list, was the need to make major repairs at Donner Center. Now please reflect for a moment on the choices presented. The necessary repairs and upgrades at Donner Center were expected to cost $2 to $3 million, after which the facility would have still been inadequate to address the challenges of a 21st century Parks Department. When you consider that we could be spending $3 million on 75-year-old Donner Center, it puts the $4 million that the city spent on the mall in a different light. I say only $4 million because, again, we sought partners. Columbus Regional Health took a 25% ownership, and the Heritage Fund came forward with a grant. Together, they got us from $4 million up to the purchase price of $5.9 million. CRH has several options under review for its share, including occupational therapy, physical therapy, office, and clinical space. The city plans to expand on Lincoln Park and offer new space and programming to meet what residents want today from a park system. We also plan to construct an indoor sports facility that will host soccer and softball tournaments, enhancing our already successful sports tourism program. How all this comes together, and it won't be easy, it'll be a lot of work, we'll have some few setbacks in the way, but how we do this, how we accommodate moving parks activities from Donner to here, how we accommodate sports tourism, how we accommodate CRH, and a smaller but continuing retail presence, that will all be a focus of what we do this summer. And as you've likely followed in the media, we have put together a group of community volunteers to form a design team. That team, headed by Mark Levitt, will interview site planners over the next several weeks, choose one, and then embark on a very public process. The community's input will be sought, similar to what we did with Envision Columbus, with a view to completing this design process this fall. It will be an exciting opportunity for all of us to envision how this real estate can once again contribute to the community for decades to come. You know, I just mentioned the word envision, and earlier tonight I suggested that attitudes were changing, especially among millennials, about how we define a desirable community. During 2018, our community undertook an ambitious planning process called Envision Columbus. This nearly year-long effort sought and received input from several hundred citizens. It was led by citizen volunteers and financed by the Heritage Fund and a grant from the Cummins Foundation. What we learned was that while we have an outstanding community in many respects, we need to respond to changes, much as we're doing with this mall. The study has become a very strategic and comprehensive vision for Columbus. It has identified 10 or more initiatives for us to consider. In 2019, we will focus on 4. You know, when I was a kid, and later when I was a young adult, I clearly desired the suburban lifestyle. Pam and I tolerated apartment living. We couldn't wait to buy our first house, our first lawnmower, and a yard large enough to have a garden. Today's tastes, particularly among our younger adults, are different. There is a strong demand for what you might call an urban neighborhood, a walkable residential area. And by that I mean a neighborhood where one can walk to work, walk to recreation, and walk to a grocery. The study correctly pointed out that's difficult to do in Columbus. We find ourselves with a city that is well constructed, but with a suburban mindset. The times, they say, they are a-changin'. To address this and other changes on the city's west side, brought about by the demise of the Clarion Hotel and Conference Center, the study recommends that we pursue projects for our broader downtown area that will bring denser housing options. Think row houses or row homes, and projects that will encourage renovation of older housing stock that already exists. In addition, we will attempt to recruit a grocery and a hotel convenience center, a hotel conference center. Throughout the Envision Columbus process, we commented often that great cities just don't happen. They are the result of thoughtful planning that learns from the past, takes stock of the present, and looks to the future. Columbus has profited from excellent planning by prior generations, beginning in the 1960s and continuing through Focus 2000 and Vision 2020. I'm confident that our current effort will make a similar contribution to our collective story. Now, you know, we've covered a lot of ground tonight, and there's a lot more we could talk about. And I must admit that in my 3 years as mayor, I have learned that I love to talk about Columbus. But as you reflect on my remarks this evening, I would like for you to think back about a couple things. I hope you will note the city's focus on two perspectives with any challenge we address. One is that we look to the future, the other is that we look for partners in everything we do. To illustrate, for the railroad overpass, we have 4 partners. For ASAP and the hub, we have 2. For the Fresh Start Recovery Program, 4 partners. For Fair Oaks Mall, 2. For the IU Architecture Program, we had a long list, more than I can remember, a long list of community partners who participated in that. But most importantly, throughout it all, we sought dependable partners. I learned years ago that the best way to attract a dependable partner was to be a dependable partner. And I've been proud to put my energy into ensuring that our city has a reputation as a trusted and dependable partner. I've truly enjoyed serving as your mayor these past 3 years and very much treasure the opportunity to build upon the tremendous legacy we have as we meet today's challenges and plan for the future. Finally, I want to offer a couple of big shout-outs. This was kind of fun to put this together this evening, come out here to the mall. We set up 250 chairs so you can sort of, look around and measure the size of the crowd. I want to thank our Parks Department. Guys, raise your hand. Somewhere, maybe they all went home. Got out ahead of the snow, yeah. Our Police Department for helping set up the video. Most importantly, Nancy Wagner and Pam Lenup. I want to tell you something, at City Hall ain't nothing happening without Nancy. And at my house, ain't nothing happening without Pam. So please, let's give them all a round of applause. I also want to pass along thanks to Kroger. We asked Kroger for a little bit of help tonight, just to have something to nibble on. Told them we'd have about 200 guests. I think they added a 0. We've got plenty of food, so you're welcome to take something home. Whatever you don't take home will either go to a fire station or go to a charity. As I mentioned, several of us will be around for a while. Thanks for coming tonight and for your attention. Don't forget to take a stroll around the mall, get your steps in. Please enjoy the evening and have a safe trip home. Thank you.